My name is Elliot. My name's Elliot. I like a lot of things.
As a mother of a child with autism, I struggle with a lot of regret or guilt about not having the child I thought I was going to have. The balance between that and also celebrating his quirkiness and difference and really pretty amazing qualities against the parts that are so difficult.
Basketball, Minecraft, Legos, having fun.
Harry Potter?
Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings. Friends, family, money.
Going camping.
Yeah. Camping, riding my bike. I have autism,
Yeah.
which can actually be quite useful. Helps with the math quicker. It's much quicker strategies. You think fast in your head. The bad thing is you don't really know how to explain.
Family was much more rocked by autism when Elliot was younger because it was a much more intense experience then in terms of caretaking and the amount of meltdowns. It was a noisy world. Everything was really focused on him. It changed the way we lived our whole lives. With me having to quit my job, having to spend all my time caretaking for him, definitely strained our marriage because we didn't have any time for each other anymore. Everything was focused on Elliot and taking care of him and making sure he could function in the world and dealing with all of his therapists. And you know, you never slept, and so it really changed everything for us. It's not where we took a long time to come to having children, and I think it wasn't at all what we had expected.
As far as the struggle part goes, you know, really the perseverating behavior is the really difficult one because he does it. He'll get on something and he'll, you know, unlike other kids that are easier to redirect, he's really difficult to redirect, and he's, you know, on something, and they call it perseverating, and he's doing it right now. He particularly does that picking on his sister.
Yeah.
I don't think he's consciously trying to be mean to her. It's just he'll get on a behavior and then he's just sort of stuck like a record.
He went through several years of time where he was obsessed with elevators, and I've always found that kind of fascinating. I didn't know anything about elevators really at all before, and I didn't really even like riding them, but I think for him the combination of the motion of the elevator, the physical sensation of it, as well as the number panels were fascinating to him. I think a lot of these sort of repetitive or obsessive behaviors get in the way of being able to interact normally in the world. Like with the elevator thing, we couldn't for a while, even in the house, we couldn't pass through a doorway we had to pretend we were pressing a button and then go through the doorway, and if we didn't do that, there'd be a 10-minute tantrum about the fact that we didn't press the button to get through the doorway. That went on for years. So they really get in the way of him being able to function just within his own home as well as in the world with peers.
Yeah.
Definitely affects our family dynamics. We can't, you know, I grew up eating family dinner at the table with everybody, and that's something I miss and would really like to have in my life, and it's impossible. We don't do it.
No.
We don't do it. We can't have them at the table together, and so there's things like that definitely it's impacted our lives in that way, that we can't have some of those as many times together as a family that I think most families get. We do a lot of divide and conquer and separating. So
Yeah, I mean,
so when Elliot was younger, I wrote several poems about him and my experience as his mom and what it was like to be your mom. It was like to raise you and be around you, especially before you were talking. You remember that you didn't talk very much until you were almost 4. And this poem is about when you weren't. You had just started talking, but you only said lines from books or other things that you'd heard before, and you didn't say your own words.
Did I say any bad words when I was
No. Do you want to hear about what you said?
What?
Echolalia. My late talking son is talking all the time now, a nonstop flow of syllables and phrases that come out the same every time. Broken record doesn't even begin to tell the story. My life with him is a soundtrack of repetition. The word itself is lovely, echolalia, and reminds me of bats. How they find insects in the dark and each other. Instinctual, utterly important. Echolocation. This is how I see my son's language. He's finding us in the dark. He's showing us where he is. He offers phrases from his favorite books as greeting, conversation. On Thursday, he ate through 4 strawberries, a comb and a brush and a bowl full of mush, and when he woke up, he found it was true. And they went out together into the deep, deep snow.
Who went out together?
And what if we all listened to this intently? What if we remembered what was said, repeated ourselves until we got a response, until we heard our own words echoed back to us? To fight discouragement, to tell myself that someday he will say he loves me, to imagine the conversations we will have, I try to think of his words as heartbeats. A rhythm that is essential, utterly important, the sound he is using to find his way out, the sound that keeps us alive, the sound that ties me to him beat for beat and word for word. When I look at my happy, quirky, rough and tumble boy, it's hard to remember the early days of his diagnosis, the struggle, challenge, and exhaustion. But Elliot does not need to be pitied or cured. He needs to be supported, championed, and loved for who he is: architect, mathematician, basketball player, and boy with autism. Supported by specialists, teachers, family, and peers, Elliot's potential, like the rest of ours, is limitless.